Well, tell us, how was the message delivered by President Xi received there at the General Assembly?
Well, good evening, Clint. Well, ahead of the 70th anniversary of the general debate of the United Nations General Assembly, the President, the UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, presented his annual report on the work of the organization, and then he was followed this year's Assembly President from Denmark, who delivered a keynote opening speech, and then he was followed by the Brazilian President, whose country holds this traditional role as the very first national speaker, and then she was followed by the President Barack Obama, who stressed on the response the international community should have to the threats such as the terrorism and global poverty. And Chinese President Xi Jinping was scheduled to be the sixth speaker to deliver a speech. He emphasized China's declared role as one of the UN Charter members and a co-founder of the international post-war international order. And he started his speech with mentioning the 70th anniversary of the World War II and China's efforts in combating the fascists. And also he mentioned about the relevant celebrating activities held on the 3rd of September in Beijing, saying that China and the rest of the world should work together to better promote the world peace. And he also mentioned about the sustainable development, saying that China should continue to play its role in fulfill the commitment China has made earlier in tackling the climate change. And he also mentioned about the Sustainable Development Summit, saying that China is going to fulfill its commitment made at the summit earlier together with the rest of the world and the United Nations. And there's a few things worth mentioning. Is that China is going to contribute $1 billion to the UN and also $100 million to the African Union over the next 5 years. And China also will dispatch around 8,000 peacekeeping troops for the UN. And later this afternoon, President Xi Jinping will attend this UN peacekeeping summit where he's going to stress a little bit more about Chinese efforts to contribute more to the future development of the UN peacekeeping operations. And after that, he's going to leave for Beijing, wrapping up his visit to the US and the UN. Clint.
Now, Tongbo, President Xi attended several events there at the UN where he made various commitments. What can you tell us about some of that?
Well, one thing we need to notice that this time's UN summits are divided into two parts. The first part is the UN Sustainable Development Summit, lasting from the 25th to the 27th. And the other one is the general debate starting from today. And during the Development Summit, President Xi Jinping pledged a $2 billion fund to help developing countries for their implementation to a post-2015 Sustainable Development Target. And he also said that China is going to step up its investment in least developed countries by at least $12 billion by 2030. And China is going to relieve their debt, including some small island countries. And also, yesterday morning, Chinese President Xi Jinping co-hosted this global leaders meeting on gender equality and women's empowerment. And he said that China is going to donate $10 million to UN Women, a group focused on the furtherance of gender equity. And also, he added that China would also initiate 100 health-oriented projects in the next 5 years and help create schools and host 30,000 women from developing countries in China-based training projects. And on Sunday, at a working luncheon on climate change, President Xi Jinping also reaffirmed China's utmost efforts to tackling the climate change, and calling on the developed countries to live up to the pledges. He said that developed countries should honor their commitment to a goal of mobilizing jointly about $100 billion to address the needs of developing countries. And he said that the developed countries should also transfer the environmental friendly technologies to their developing counterparts and live up to their other pledges in terms of fund and technology. And he also said that China has been exploring the path of low carbon development and also has already included the fight against climate change into the overall strategy of China for socio-economic development. Thanks.
Tong Bo reporting from the UN headquarters in New York. Thank you.